To do it. Dum, boom. Doo, doo, doo. There we go. Let's see. Chat. And there's 7 people online. Hello, folks. Julie and I were messing with her audio, and so we're a couple of minutes late. Welcome to Ditch Resolutions and Make Stuff Happen. Dr. Julie is listed up there first, and then Donna Read. And Donna has so far had technical difficulties. And I'm here, but I'm just your behind the scenes guy. And I'm here to, so I'll introduce you to Dr. Julie. I always mess up her last name, so it's called Dr. Julie. And she's here to present on ditching resolutions and making stuff happen. So I'll turn it over to her, and you'll see me disappear, but I'll be in the background. And you'll see me over in chat. I'll be chatting with people. So I'm going to disappear.
Great. Thanks for the introduction, Dr. Pope.
You're welcome.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on ditching resolutions and making stuff happen. Hopefully my co-presenter, Donna, great timing. Welcome. Donna has just appeared. She just has to turn her microphone on, and then we will be set to go.
Yeah, I'm sorry I got stuck and I could just get on.
No problem. Welcome. You're perfect time.
Thank you.
So why don't you take it away there, Donna?
Sure, if I'm good with that. So I just wanted to say hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. And I'm sorry I got stuck and I'm late. And we are going to be talking about ditching those New Year's resolutions. So I'm a psychotherapist. I'm an organizational consultant, and I train people in psychological flexibility. And I am so excited to be presenting this webinar with Dr. Julie Beaulac. So let's get started. So as you can see on the screen, we've identified a few of the most popular life areas where people generally make their resolutions. And these are health and well-being and finances, work and school and self-improvement and relationships. I know these are areas that I generally focus on too. So I know you probably have some others as well. So I'd like to invite you to please go ahead and type the areas that you'd like to focus on in the chat box, and we'll work on those as well.
Yeah, so anyone, just put your ideas down in the chat. Like, what is your top resolution that you consider each year? And just have that in mind, perhaps, as we go through the rest of the
So
does setting New Year's resolutions work? Well, we get the sense from both the research and from talking to people that most people do not follow through with their New Year's resolutions. In other words, they don't really work. So what to do? What does work? Well, we came up with this catchy title because we do have a solution that does work for you. And that is this tool called the Matrix. So matrixing. So the Matrix was developed by Dr. Kevin Polk himself. So the man behind the scenes right now. And what it does is it helps us learn what works. And that is one of the reasons why it is sometimes referred to as the workability model. And so you see the diagram in front of you up here on the screen. I'm just going to talk you through or walk you through it. So up on the top of the diagram represents your 5 sense experience of whatever's happening. If you bring your attention to your senses, what you're tasting, touching, smelling, seeing, hearing, you might even come up with other senses. That's your 5 sense experience. Down below is, in this diagram, is your mental experience. So this mental experience, what's going on inside of you. And then it's noticing the difference between the two. So noticing what's showing up inside and what's showing up outside of you. And so we'll say a little bit more about this matrix tool and how we can apply that to making moves and making stuff happen.
So now that Julie has introduced us to the matrix, let's look at the lower right quadrant. And on the lower right, and could we have the slide that follows that?
A little delayed, but it's coming.
There, good. So there on the lower right, you'll see that it's all about who is important to you. So most people start off with things like partner and spouse and their children and their friends and themselves. So let me ask you now, who is important to you in your life? And I invite you to please type your answers into the chat box.
Mm-hmm. I noticed in the chat box, some people are already starting to make a note of people important to them, such as their children, grandchildren, all sorts of people in their lives.
Fantastic. So now let me invite you to go ahead and close your eyes and just take a moment and just remember what it feels like to move closer, to move toward someone who's important to you. And just notice where that feeling is in your body. And now take a nice deep breath and come back to the present moment.
And so the next question of the matrix is, what shows up and gets in the way? So consider for a moment, what gets in the way of connecting to these important people in your life or creatures? I see someone's written in their grand dog. Well, some common things that people talk about that get in the way are fear. Or the thought of, I can't do this. So if you're thinking about a New Year's resolution, and it's about health or, becoming more active, going to the gym more, doing that sort of thing, you might have the thought show up of, I can't do this. Or procrastination. Oh, well, I'll go to the gym tomorrow. Or the thought of, I'm too busy, I have so much work to do. Or you might notice feeling of sadness or anger. Consider for a moment, what's the first thing that shows up and gets in your way of moving towards who and what's important to you in your life?
So, Julie, I need to tell you that I cannot see the chat box.
All right, I will take care of the chat box, Donna. And so the next slide.
So the next slide is going to talk about the yucky stuff that shows up inside of us. Or the yucky stuff that we've already talked about in the lower left that shows up inside of us. And it feels bad and it gets us stuck. So no one likes to feel bad. And we do stuff to get away from it, to avoid it. So what do people do?
Absolutely.
Well,
who wouldn't?
I know. So some people will say they sleep, or they drink alcohol, or they watch TV, or if you're like me, you go shopping and stuff like that. And that's the upper left. So what are some of your favorite away moves? Just type them into the chat box. So do any of
So
I was going to ask if any of your away moves work, and whether they work in the short term, or whether maybe they work in the short term, but then they come back again, and then we're back inside the yucky stuff. So we call these things the stuck loops, and they're not fun. So what can we do about them?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Dr. Polk wrote in with one of his go-to away moves, and that's working. And it's interesting that we can have a move that sometimes might be a toward move and other times might be an away move. So something that helps us avoid a situation or some yucky stuff inside of us, but other times helps connect us to who and what's important to us.
Absolutely.
Does anyone else notice that? I can certainly relate to that. How about you, Donna?
Oh, totally. I mean, shopping can be really necessary, right? For books or whatever. And sometimes it's just a real avoidance move.
Yeah. Might even get in the way of going to the gym or doing something on your list of to do for the new year.
Totally.
Yeah.
And get me completely derailed.
Absolutely. And so avoidance, some avoidance is perfectly natural and is not always an unhelpful move. So remember, this model is all about workability. So if we're, say, it's a really snowy, icy day here in Ottawa, Canada, say if we're, walking down the road and we notice a car coming toward us and we run to get out of the way, that's an away move. And yet that's a really helpful, workable away move. I might have done that once today. In general, though, we want to consider what can we do to move toward who's important to us, even with fear, procrastination, or thoughts of I can't do this going on inside of us. And we want to consider that because that helps connect us to who and what's important to us in our lives. And so some things that show up that we can, do are to set intentions or be realistic. And so, perhaps, setting the goal of going to the gym every week, going to the gym every day might be, where we want to eventually get to or what we think might be helpful. But if that's not realistic, is that going to be so helpful? Probably not. And there are all sorts of other things we can do, like prioritizing, setting limits, and asking for support. So as you consider the areas you want to grow in your life, consider what would be a helpful move toward, even with some of these thoughts and feelings showing up that might keep you from reaching them. And so Dawn and I put together this list of top tips for making stuff happen. Donna, what's your top tip? What's the top thing you do for making these moves toward, even with fear and procrastination?
Thanks for asking me. I think the first thing I do is the one at the top of the list, and that's just stop and become aware and do a little perspective taking. And I know that the matrix is all about awareness. And the more aware I am of my away and my toward moves, the greater is my likelihood of success. So stopping and doing my matrix, I do my matrix daily. It's the first thing I do in the morning and the last thing that I do at night. And doing it in the morning sets me up for success, and doing it at night lets me know how well I did. So that's my top one. What about you?
That's awesome. One of my top ones is really around self-compassion. And so this is, a big word these days, and a very simple practice that we can do. So we might notice feeling stuck or even getting caught up with avoidance or these away moves. And so in the midst of stopping and becoming aware of that, Donna, I find just recognizing that I am human and doing that simple self-compassion practice of, this is hard. Change and taking these moves toward is hard. And being gentle with myself as though I were my own dear friend rather than beating myself up, which we're all probably pretty good at. Can anyone relate to that? And so there are a bunch of other top tips for making stuff happen. We have all these goals towards self-improvement and growth, and that's wonderful. if it's workable, right? And so if you stop and become aware, acknowledge and show compassion towards your experience, and then anticipate, what might get in the way, plan ahead and perhaps revisit your goals so that you can make them a little bit more realistic.
Yeah.
Those are all helpful steps.
Yeah, I agree absolutely with you. And I think that in the anticipation, we have to anticipate not only those things that are going to show up in the outside world, but those things that are going to show up in our inside world and be ready for them. So make plans on how we're going to address them.
Mm-hmm. And a big part to change is really, setting limits, saying no, and seeking support. We don't have to do this alone. And so, we know that, say, for instance, a really popular New Year's resolution is around becoming more active or exercising more. Well, we know that doing that with friends and, these important people in our lives can really help us. So set a walking date with a friend.
Yeah, that and making a public announcement, that this is what I intend to have happen also helps, because then there are others witnessing to it. So having that support and having that witnessing, I think are two important things.
Absolutely. And we use that strategy all the time in our mastermind group, don't we, Donna?
We do.
All right. And so as you consider, what changes you want to make in your life as we move further into 2018, I invite you to consider what's workable. What's going to be the next step that's going to help you move towards the people and things in your life that are most important. And take those small steps and ask for support as you take these moves toward, even with fear, procrastination, and all that other yucky stuff that shows up.
Absolutely. And from my perspective, developing awareness around all of those feelings of fear and anxiety that come up, and then being willing, to hold those feelings and move towards what it is you want to have happen.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
And so if you would like to check out either of our websites, I have posted on mine at drjuliebolac.com the slides from today's webinar. So feel free to click on that link and you will get sent them right away. And if you have any questions or any issues with getting the slides, just send me an email, which is also available on my website.
And mine is as well.
Awesome. Well, this has been great doing this with you, Donna. And thank you, everyone, for participating.
Thank you so much, everyone. So onward and upward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm back.
Whoa.
Welcome back.
I was having fun in the background.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Well, I couldn't see you, so.
Oh.
Talking about beating yourself up and doing all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah, Oh, yeah, beating up myself first thing in the morning. That's what I'm best at. And so then I get up and go exercise. But which is a habit I've managed to develop some years ago. So.
And so that's your move toward.
Yeah, it is. And it helps. And then I get into my day and do a bunch of work. I guess notice if the work is a toward move or an away move. It's one of the two, but fortunately I just work a lot and got a lot of stuff to do. But you guys know that from the mastermind.
I've noticed.
Right.
As have I.
Enjoy it. So anywho, so that's great. This recording will also be available. Well, I don't know how long it takes, but it's not really very long. But I know the email that will tell everybody, give everybody the link to it. It will be in 24 hours. So
Great. Thank you.
Get a link. It'll be up there. We'll be good to go.
Awesome.
And ditch those resolutions. Remember who and what's important to you and what you need to do to get that direction. So. Okay.
Well said.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you, and you too. I hope it's warmer.
Oh, it's going to be way warm. We got a flood warning out here up in Maine.
Oh my
and then it's
gosh.
gonna get cold again. Oh well, we'll survive.
Dawn, it was a high of like 10 degrees Celsius today, and it's going down to about -20 Celsius this evening. So.
Oh gosh, I hate to tell you this, but we were 60 today.
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful? Yeah, Julie, isn't it great when all that nice water freezes? Nice.
Yes, wonderful. It's a nice skating rink everywhere.
You can really kill yourself. Well, you gotta be careful.
But I have to say, it feels very bizarre that it's so warm because it's not supposed to, and Denver's not generally like that. We should really be under snow, and it should be.
Oh, here in Maine, they're just calling this our usual January thaw.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
That's what it is. Maybe
but I'm sort of grateful, to be here and not in Vermont now. So.
Well, enjoy what you have.
I am.
Enjoy where you,
and you have to come
where you are. That's the most important part.
I will one day, Donna. I will.
You will. So you're off to Hawaii.
Yeah, soon.
Hey,
awesome.
I'm off to do more work. I got webinars coming up and all kinds of stuff. I'll tell you guys about it on the mastermind.
Oh, that'll be awesome. And I got unsuspended, so I'm full steam ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
Go for it. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye all.
Thank you.
So,
Bye.
bye, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.